Hello there. I'm Britta Nelson. I'm thrilled to have you here for my Your Health Define Your Relationship series that is going to go over your relationship to food. So we'll be together for a while. Go ahead and pause as you need to. Always feel free to ping me with any questions that you have. I'm at Britta Nelson Wellness at gmail.com. Let's get started. First of all, who am I? I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, with an adorable black lab. I have a 48-and-a-half-year relationship with food, which qualifies me to talk about food. I am a certified health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I'm a certified Kundalini and Vinyasa instructor. I am somebody that really believes in the premise and ideas put out by intuitive and mindful eating. I believe in whole, plant-based, nutrient-dense foods as a great way to manage our cravings and live our life. I'm also a food opportunarian, so I am somebody that enjoys eating good food and has been able to, fortunately, create a better balance with certain foods that are a little more addictive so that I can take take advantage of, like when I was in Italy eating gelato. I also have a sustainable relationship with sugar. I was a sugar addict and went sugar free for 4.5 years, and now have been able to create an overall healthy and positive relationship to sugar. And I just mentioned that because I think a lot of people here on the call, that's an area where we all have struggled. So look forward to being here with you. If you have any questions along the way, jot those down and message me at Britta Nelson Wellness at gmail.com, and let's get started. All right. What I like to start my classes with is a quick tune in. Our bodies are a beautiful vehicle for us to discover ourselves, to be part of life. The Buddha mentions this. I want us to be able to feel that ourselves. So if you are in a quiet spot or in your car, just take a few minutes. If you're in a place that you can gently close your eyes or look down and kind of shut out some of the light and the brightness and the activity of the day, to go ahead and do that. If you are not able to do that, just from where you're at, what I'd like you to do is just take in 3 deep breaths. And ideally, when you're breathing, you are breathing deeply into your belly so that it expands out like a big Buddha belly. And then when you breathe out, you're bringing your belly button to your spine. That is actually the proper way to breathe rather than thinking that we're breathing into our lungs. When we breathe deeply into our bellies, our diaphragm muscle, which basically cuts us kind of in half, but is shaped a little bit like this, pushes down, and it pushes all of our digestive organs down, which is great for the digestive organs. But when we breathe more deeply into our belly, it creates a vacuum in our lungs and fills up the lungs by default of the action of the diaphragm. When we breathe out, that diaphragm comes back up, domes up, pushing our hearts and our lungs up. That all of that squishing brings in blood to these different organs in this back and forth. And the ideal breath work for calming ourselves is to do a breath in and try to double or just make the exhale longer. So, just to start with, just go ahead and breathe in to the count of 4 and out to the count of 6. As you're able to expand that and you want to even drop into a calmer state, do a 4-8 breath. So take some deep breaths, and I want you to just tune into how your body is feeling. How does it feel right now in the chair that you're in? Are you in your car or your work chair? Is it feeling heavy or light? Do you feel cold or warm? I want you to sense where your head is, so your mind. Do you feel detached a little bit? Are you engaged? Do you feel thoughts racing back and forth as you're stressed, as you come off the day or the moment that you were just in, or are you feeling relatively peaceful? I want you to kind of step away from your body with your second consciousness and look back at your body. Observe it from the outside. What does it look like to you when you picture your body as you're looking at it? Is it big or strong, small, timid? What's just the general sense of the space that you feel you take up as a human here? I want you to tap into what your body is telling you. Take a moment and ask yourself what your body's needs are. Does it have something to tell you? Sometimes mine will say, slow down, Britta, or it will say, be more gentle with yourself. Or I might be in a critical space, and are you criticizing your body right now? Take another deep breath in and a long, slow breath out. Keeping your eyes closed, I'm going to share an affirmation with you. You can repeat it to yourself if you want, or just hear and let these words wash over you. My body is a gift. It is a tool for me to learn about life and to enjoy and experience life. I invite my body to teach me what it needs and wants to be the most healthy person possible. Take a deep breath in, breath out. Wiggle your fingers and toes and gently open your eyes to the room. So just if you need to jot anything down from that, I hope you have a pen and paper near you. There will be a corresponding worksheet that comes with this class that you can utilize as homework, some opportunities for you to engage in some activities so that you can assess and improve your relationship with food. The main activity of that I would encourage daily. In the morning, ideally, I believe in checking in with our bodies in the morning as a beautiful way to start the day, to affirm that we want to listen to our bodies, that we want to respect our bodies. And when we respect our body through the choices we make through our own free will, our body, which is more like a machine, actually can respond. We're essentially programming it correctly. All right, so don't know for sure what brought you to this class. Many reasons in the past when I've coached people and talked with them for why they want to learn about their relationship with food. It could be you want to lose weight. It could be that you're training for something, you want to gain muscle. It could be that you've been a chronic dieter and you want to change your relationship to food and to your body and your experience with food. Many different reasons, but whatever the case, we are all human, breathing Homo sapiens right now, God willing. And at the essence of who we are is this human body. It is here at the very core of our ability to be here, to sustain ourselves, to be alive and experiencing. And when we breathe, a lot of these things that happen in our body are automatic, but how we choose food is and how we decide to sustain ourselves is a whole different ball of wax than some of these our heart beating, our breathing. Of course, our breathing is one element of us that I think is extremely powerful as a way to improve our bodily relationship and improve our health. But to how we choose to eat, we can either choose to enhance our lives or to make ourselves miserable. So during our journey together, we're going to have a brief introduction. We've done our tune in. We're going to just talk about our relationship with food. I'm going to share about my journey, which is much of the impetus for holding a class like this. I'm going to talk about some key elements of building a healthy relationship, and then we'll have our closing. So, an important thing to know about the word diet at its root, it actually is a way of life. And the way that we engage with our food should be a sustainable way of life, of living. The concept of relationship, definition, the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected. They're in a state of being connected. The way they talk to, behave toward, and deal with each other. Do you feel like you are in relationship with food? You come to it at some point during each day. You either have a positive or a negative relationship with it. Sometimes it makes you happy. Sometimes it makes you discouraged. Sometimes it's something you're not even really thinking about. As kids, we kind of come into this world, into this cast of characters where we really don't have much of a choice about who is around us. Um, they're just the relationships we have. As adults, we gain more free will and who's going to be part of our life. We get to choose how, when, with whom we interact. It's exciting as we learn that we get to make choices as adults, and it's also scary because there's a lot of variables and a lot of choices we get to make. And so I want to just pose that we have an exciting relationship and opportunity to create a healthy relationship with our food. Have any of you heard, if you're on this call, the term DTR, or the defining the relationship talk? That's a talk that when you are dating somebody, um, where you basically are saying, okay, we've been hanging out enough with each other. Let's define what we really are. Do we have titles? Are we girlfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, 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 girlfriend? Do we not want titles? Do we want to say that you're my wife or my husband, significant other, my most meaningful partner? Some people really don't want titles. With those titles, what permission does that give us to do, to be, to act? Are there boundaries? Are we stopping texting other people in any type of kind of real intimate way? Or are we okay with one another developing other friendships, other relationships? Um, Much like we have that opportunity when we have romantic relationships, we can even do this with our friends. Sometimes our friendships become a little bit entangled where we might have to say, let's reevaluate and reassess how we're doing this. But we can define our relationship with food as well. We don't have to just think that food is there and we're dragged back and forth by it, or our cravings are the only thing and it's like, why can't I ever avoid sugar? We can define a relationship to sugar. You may eat in your car all the time, and that's the way that your kind of pattern is. You might decide, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make a change to this. We can create our own healthy relationship to food. I have done that. I know and believe that we can. So, what is a healthy relationship? Just if you're dating somebody, communicating with openness and honesty. When we're in a good relationship, we're listening to one another. We show up and we're present. We try to spend time with our partner to get to know them, to know what their needs are, to enjoy one another and to have fun. We try to keep that romance alive, that excitement, that curiosity about the other person. We, through our time getting to know one another, can build trust with that person, and then we start to rely on them. And when we can do that, I mean, really, as individuals, we expand, and as a partnership, we expand. We're respectful and we have boundaries. So, I want you to just take a moment and assess your relationship to food based off of these criteria. Do you feel like you have a healthy relationship to food? If one means, if this is the case, like, no, I don't even know what my body's telling me. I can't tell when I'm hungry, when I'm full. When I'm full, I still overeat. Or when I'm hungry, I'm so busy, I don't even listen to myself. I'm really not curious about my body. It just does this stuff for me. Um, do you eat in a consistent, reliable way, or are you all over the map? Some days you eat, some days you don't. So, is it a healthy relationship for you? Let's talk about some crazy US stats, and I want you to ask yourself if you think we have a healthy relationship. 52% say it's easier to do taxes than figure out what to eat. Like what to do to keep ourselves alive each day. It's easier to do taxes. 55% are trying to lose weight. 8 million people have eating disorders, and 10% of those are men, and that's expanding. So it's not just a female male thing. 81% of 10-year-olds are afraid of being fat. 11% would abort a child if they knew they would be fat. That's from the book Body Wars. It's appalling to me. 16% of young women in Britain said they would trade 1 year of their life for an ideal body. So that's not a US stat. 90% of heart disease could be prevented by lifestyle changes. So if we actually were having a healthy relationship, we could prevent major illnesses and diseases that are killing us. So I just say there are a lot of issues when there is so much confusion around food. We just have to, look around us, talk to friends, assess ourselves to know it's troublesome, but we can make it a healthy relationship. Mark David, who's the founder of the Institute of the Psychology of Eating, he wrote a wonderful book called Nourishing Wisdom. He says human beings need to learn about eating. We need to learn how to sustain our bodies properly, manage our energy, cultivate positive habits, and allow food to nourish us rather than punish us. So I want to talk to you a little bit about my crazy journey with my health and how my journey combined with reading, combined with health coaching has taught me about some principles that help us create a healthy relationship. So first of all, I am a twin, and we were born 2 months premature. I was 3 pounds 8 ounces. She was 3 pounds 1 ounce, which really kind of, when you think about how small that means, I was kind of the pig in utero. And really, ever since then, it was Britta big, Lisa little. And how, from then on until my 20s, how much I weighed, what the scale said, really told me how acceptable, loving, successful I was. Was I a good or a bad person? I venture to guess that many of you on this class, on this call, understand these kind of sentiments. I grew up in a dieting family. My first diet was when I was 14. I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning and jog on a mini tramp and lost 17 pounds before my family went to the south of France. I felt like I had arrived and found true happiness. France was wonderful. I thought I was on top of the world. And then I came back, and guess what happened? Like about 98% of diets, I gained all of that weight back. I hated jeans. I hated planning outfits. I hated packing for trips. I pigged out on Sunday just to diet on Monday. I used to sneak food, or I would defiantly exhibit my healthy appetite and hearty appetite in comparison to my skinny sisters by eating a lot. I compulsively ate many bags of my favorite Hershey's Easter eggs till my mouth was raw, and then I'd go running 10 miles. When I was in college, my dad would call me, so sweet, regularly called me, love him to death. His questions, per that generation: how are your grades? How are your friends? How is your weight? And I remember hanging up the phone one time and bawling. I was just like, this is insane. My relationship to food, my family, and this society's relationship to food is absolutely messed up. It was fear-based, it was not sustainable, it was unenjoyable. And then began a 25-year redefinition of my relationship to food, to my health, to my body. I began a journey of experimentation, reading books, feeling good sometimes, terrible at others. I did not lose weight at that point. I just was starting to gain wisdom. In college, I gave up sugar 40 days for Lent and felt amazing. And I kind of just, at that point was the first time I kind of showed my cells and my physical body what it would feel like without sugar. And I believe that's a big premise. We experiment and we try, and our bodies get wiser and wiser. In 2006, I had a binge on chocolate cake and red wine at my friend's daughter's quinceanera party. I woke up feeling terrible. And I remember that day, and this could be a key point for some people in the redefinition. I had to hit rock bottom. I called my parents, and we were having dinner that night, and I called them up to my house and I just said, you guys, I am out of control. I'm drinking too much. I'm eating too much. I love you guys. I need to be witnessed by you insane. I need to get my life in order. And this is a humbling part of my journey. I have used kind of more meditation, prayer as a way to get answers. And I had been praying, and I was driving to work the next day, and I got this real intuitive nudge, Overeaters Anonymous. And I was like, what the hell is that? I mean, I'm sure I'd heard it at some point, but the nudge was Overeaters Anonymous. So I Googled it, and I went to my first Overeaters Anonymous program. And so began several years of going to an Overeaters Anonymous program and being humbled around people that were larger in body, smaller in body, bulimics, anorexics, compulsive eaters, sugar addicts, flour addicts, popcorn addicts. I mean, everything. And people would come up to me because I wasn't super large and would say, why are you here? Like, kind of judgmentally, like, you can't be here. And I'm like, it's here. It's what's in the head. That is what's most important that I want to change. So I began engaging in kind of a pretty regimented way of eating, not a diet. It was a regimented way of eating where I ate 3 square meals a day to teach my body consistency with snacks, mid-morning, afternoon. I gave up anything refined sugar for 4.5 years. So I read every ingredient, and it might sound OCD, and sometimes this isn't the right method for people, but for me, this was the nudge that I got. I read ingredients, and the FDA has to put things in order of number one is this is the number one ingredient. Number two, that's the second biggest ingredient. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So whatever's at the bottom is that's the least amount of that ingredient in that food. Whatever's at the top, it's the most. So I had to look at things that from the 5th ingredient down, it could be some type of honey, sugar, anything. But that meant it was a minimal part of the ingredient on that food. So 4.5 years I did that. And then I went to Italy. I was going to Italy, and I'm like, I want to go to Italy and enjoy what is going to be there. So I'm going to test this. So I went to Italy, and I was feeling great off sugar. I gave up, sugar, mostly gluten free, and just started packing in healthy foods to my diet. So I'm kind of backtracking here, but I started packing in healthy foods so that I was getting nutrient density while I was giving up sugar, while I was doing some of these spiritual emotional principles. I also got on to medication, and I am not a proponent for everyone to be on that, but I learned about some of our family's brain chemistry and realized that for as healthy as I could be, I need to take a medication, and that has been life-changing. So for me, that really worked. Doesn't have to work for everyone. But I was going to Italy and realized, okay, I want to be able to eat gelato. Went to Italy. First day, got a giant thing of Nutella for my car ride from Zagreb. Well, I was in Croatia first, out to the coast, and ate so much Nutella. I have a funny joke photo with my friend where we have Nutella all over our face as a joke. But it was that day that I ate a ton of sugar, and then it was like my body was like, no more of this. So I ate gelato. I had a gelato every day, but I literally recalibrated almost immediately. And it's been that way ever since then. And what a relief. Okay, so I gave up all my crazy punishing exercise patterns at the gym and hiking that was just grind, don't get fat. And I found a hot power yoga, and I just started going to that religiously. And it was so meditative, so beautiful. Did that religiously for 8 years. I've now been into Kundalini yoga. I began a meditation practice 2 years ago, breath work practice. I truly believe health begets health. We make little healthy decisions in any area of our life, whether it's the way we approach work, our food, our relationships, and it proliferates. We have to trust that, or we're going to drive ourselves crazy throughout our lives. So I have a much more healthy relationship to my body, my mind around food, my judgments around myself. If I eat sugar, I can recalibrate really quickly. Um, and the perk is, since this all began, predominantly 10 years ago was the deep dive in with the no sugar and stuff. I've lost 25 pounds without even trying, with just letting go and trusting the process. So I'm going to give a roadmap along the way that mirrors what I've learned, and hopefully some of this helps as you define your relationship to food. So first biggest thing, embrace the journey. We are Lewis and Clark explorers embarking on a journey where the outcome is not what it says on the scale. The outcome is how we feel here, here, here. Get curious. My friend always says C comes before D in the defensive. Get curious before defensive. I would say get curious before we get critical, judgmental, scared, afraid. Be curious. Release expectations of weight. Um, engage your body, mind, and spirit. Whatever practice that you can engage in that you are learning about health. So if you're a sugar addict, reading sugar books. If you are moving your body, realizing the vehicle we've been given, and then if there's any type of faith practice that you can engage in, even if it's just, I'm going to trust myself on this journey, and then seek support where you can. Okay, so Janine Roth, the author of, and I look over here at my fun little bookshelf, Women, Food, and God. She also wrote When Food is Love. She says we have to live as if we know that we are worth our own time. Live as if we deserve to take care of our bodies. Live as if the possibilities we long for actually exist. Living as if creates a bridge to a new way of living. It allows us to see that something else is possible, that we can really walk, talk, eat as if we deserve to be here. We deserve to be here. This is why we are here. Our weight, our food relationship should just be one little part of our lives. And if we're just talking about the food all the time, it's the tip of the iceberg for having relationships, for traveling, exploring, having a career, so many things. So we deserve to be here. Let's embark on this journey. I encourage you, one of my biggest phrases is trust the process. Test, assess, test, assess. So we'll keep this class, I'll peel back the layers of the onion, but you're always just doing something and assessing how it feels. Doing something, assessing how it feels. And we're going to talk about just kind of how it does feel to make a healthy life decision and how to make healthy food decisions in a little bit. But trust that it's an upward cycle as you're taking occasional deep dives as you create your middle ground and your sustainable, healthy relationship with food. I love all of the books out there now about creating habits and behavioral change. I can give recommendations: BJ Fogg, Tiny Habits; James Clear, Atomic Habits; Charles Duhigg, Power of Habits; Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule. All of these are about understanding stimulus, what we do when we get stimulated, and what our response is, and what that reward is that we're trying to get. And what we're going to try to do is create new patterns as we go that are going to keep bringing us up. So I just want you to just kind of plant the seed that when you have certain behaviors, thoughts, actions tied to food, just start noticing what's happening. What's the environment like around you? What are the feelings? Are you stressed? Are you relaxed? Are you bored? Are you alone at your house, or is it when you're in big groups of people that you then get a craving and then overeat? Or are you around people and you have a cue of insecurity about your body and so you don't eat? There are different things that we do, and then look at, like, how does this feel? What's the reward I'm getting off of this? Is it what I actually want the reward to be? Am I getting what I think I'm heading out for? Don't set huge, lofty goals as we begin. Instead, change our system of doing things. So just think about this. 10 people go to a job interview. Do you think they all probably want that job? They're getting dressed up, they're taking the time to write their resume, they are going to the job interview. Let's just assume they all want that job. Everybody at the Olympics wants the gold medal. Why do some people succeed? Because they have better systems in place of doing things. And it's little systems like I wake up every morning, this is just me, I have a big glass of water with a green powder and a full squeezed lemon juice in there. That's my first little thing I do every single day, probably 8 years now, to tell myself I am healthy, I make healthy choices. Frequent repetitive actions and systems, not big like giant, I'm going to go out and run 15 miles today, to where then your hips are jacked up for 2 weeks. So instead of just, I want to lose 50 pounds, start thinking, I'm going to eat 1 apple every day at 10. So just be thinking of tiny little habits that you can do. I will say it really helps to pair tiny habits with things you already do. So, one notion is you brush your teeth, and as soon as you brush your teeth, because you hopefully do that every day, you drop down and you do 10 push-ups or you do 10 jumping jacks. You pair an old habit that's solid with a new habit, you're going to start creating new patterns and habits. And just remember, as we do and make changes to patterns and habits, outcomes lag behind habits and actions. We have to break past the plateau of latent potential. So most of us start doing the habit and we're like, oh, I'm doing this for 3 weeks. I'm off, I'm out. For me, it took, I would say right away, maybe 5-8 pounds, but it has been progressive over time, small things that 25 pounds came off. And that's where the sanity and the sustainability has been built in. Okay, so just be starting to watch yourself, looking at things that you're doing regularly. Do you have a cookie at 4 o'clock? Do you eat when you watch TV? Are you grabbing food and eating in the car? Do you eat food while you walk around? Just be looking at some of your patterns. All right, and then another thing in creating new patterns I want to talk about as you're on the journey is developing a new identity. So now I'm going to forget which book this was. James Cleary, I think, Power of Habit, or one of them, Atomic Habits. You have to be thinking in terms of behavioral change. We have our outcome goal. That's our big goal. I'm going to run a marathon. Then you have your little process that you're going to do every day to get there. And then you actually, in order to actually become that person, you have to change your identity. I am a runner. I am a non-smoker. I am healthy. I eat healthy food. What other things? I'm a writer. If you were to say I write every day, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write every day. I am a writer. Start thinking about what kind of identity that you want around food. I truly can tell myself I am a healthy, realistic eater, and I have a healthy, positive relationship to my body. And that way, then I can look at, okay, well, then what would that type of person do on a regular basis to be, what does that person do? I mean, there's always somebody out there that's in the identity that we dream to have. What do you think they do every day? Start thinking as that person. This is your what would Jesus do? What would your most healthy person around you do? All right, these are simple steps towards defining your relationship to food. James Clear says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. Little processes, little steps. Okay, so we're going to start moving into some more nuts and bolts. This is kind of to get you on your journey, to get you in the mindset of, I'm defining my relationship. I am in a healthy relationship to food. I am a healthy person in a healthy relationship to food. Okay, what diets have you tried? We're going to kind of just get this weight topic out in the open here. So as you look at this list, Paleo, Atkins, Weight Watchers, Vegan, Whole30, Intermittent Fasting, South Beach, Raw, which of these have you tried? Are you somebody that is a chronic dieter? have they worked for you? How long did they work for you? Why did you do it? Was it so that you could get rid of a health issue? Was it so that you could get in a pair of jeans, get in your wedding dress? Most diets are typically focused on weight loss, gaining muscle, training for an event. We can implement diets into our life, dieta, the way of life. We can create diets that, if you take the bigger overarching, it is a dieta, it is a way of life that implements some of the principles from all of these diets. All of these diets, most of them, have some redeeming qualities. They will help you lose weight. There are some redeeming qualities. Many more of these diets are starting to recognize that it is, we can't have just that weight loss as the goal. But I encourage you, per the notions of intuitive eating, which we'll talk about in a few moments, that you take dieting off the books for a while. Throw away the diet books, stop Googling for diets, stop even Googling for all the macros and the micros and the this and the that, unless that's really the way your brain works. I have friends that really function with knowing those things, but I guess I would say, is that sustainable forever? If you need to learn about it for a while so that then you can relax for the rest of your life, go for it. But I want you to just, that diet mentality of lose weight, I want you to start setting that aside. Janine Roth says, it's not about the weight, but it is also not about the weight. If you've spent the last 5, 20, 50 years obsessing about the same 10 or 20 pounds, something else is going on. Something that has nothing to do with weight. So I just invite you to be willing to let that be true, which is why when I would go to Overeaters Anonymous and people would say, why are you here? I would say this, it's not about the weight. Let me tell you why I know this. One time, and it was a weird connection, one time I was pigging out. This is kind of before my sugar-free era, because this, just within the year or two before I went sugar-free, I was totally, had no emotion or thoughts that were going on that I thought had going on. Started pigging out on sugar, and all of a sudden, I was pissed at my family members. I was feeling totally angry at them and making up stories and inventing things. And I went, oh my gosh, wait a second. Normally I feel angry, upset, afraid, something, and then I go to the sugar and I eat and I overeat compulsively to shut out the feeling. This time it went the reverse way, and I went, there is a bingo connection here. So let's just assume focusing on weight can be beneficial. Definitely. If you have an issue where weight is negatively impacting your health, your mobility, diabetes, heart attack risk, high cholesterol in an unhealthy way, cancer, like something, seek medical advice, seek attention so that you can get your weight at a sustainable place. But it's not beneficial because not everybody who's overweight or obese, based on some of our crazy scales, is actually unhealthy, just as everybody who looks healthy is not healthy. Not everyone with a normal body weight is healthy. Focusing on weight simply doesn't work for everyone. It's not fun. If it did, people will go on one diet, they would get the results they want, and the diet would be over. That's pretty much a rare occurrence. Again, U.S. Federal Trade Commission, 98% failure rate. That is terrible. Focusing on losing weight is also, this is where I think it's the most dangerous. It creates disordered eating, stress, insecurity, self-loathing. We don't want to connect with people because we're afraid to go to an event. We're afraid of ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. It creates more body issues. I do not think that losing weight is the healthiest choice overall when we're thinking about lives that, God willing, go from now until, let's just say, 75. So I truly subscribe to and invite you to learn more about mindful, intuitive eating combined with nutritional knowledge. So mindful, intuitive eating and knowledge, this is based off of, oh, I don't have the book readily available here. But it's not focused solely on weight. It's weight inclusive, weight neutral. Wherever you're at, kids learn how to eat without learning how to eat. They're not like, well, I guess you could probably ask a mom and she'd say, no, my baby is binged on breast milk. But um, they innately know when to eat, when to stop. It's parenting, it's society that's messing with that. So let's just assume everyone gets to be here at the table, people of all sizes. If we aren't appreciating people of all sizes, like I don't know why we think that people of different sizes, everyone is here and has a beautiful story to tell. Focus less on changing types or amounts of your foods. So you're not trying to manipulate tons. Um, my story does show some differences there, but overall, focus on how you engage with food. That's what I think is most important. How you engage with food. So the when, what, why you're eating, how you engage with your body. Is it respect and love or loathing, fear, and guilt for why you do things? And how you engage with your eating experience at each meal, with your friends, by yourself. Listen to your inner cues to achieve true sustainable health. So starting to really understand hunger. Am I hungry? Am I not? What am I hungry for? Is it food or is it something else? And then it is combining internal wisdom with external knowledge, because I do truly believe that some nutritional knowledge is helpful. It's not going to be rocket science here, folks. It is your fresh fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, unprocessed foods, high nutrient density. Fats can be great, depends what they are. So I want to just invite you to stop for a second and just think about, how do you know when something is healthy or unhealthy that you are doing in the way that you are approaching it, whether it's exercise, food, a relationship? What does it feel like when you think it's healthy? And what does it feel like when you think it's unhealthy? I venture to guess that you all have some really good, positive, good, solid, accurate knowledge about this. When things are healthy for us, we're going to feel energetic. We're going to feel balanced. We're going to feel love and just appreciation for life, for ourselves. We'll feel a sense of positivity, relaxation, strong, capable instead of weak. We're going to be encouraged, like, okay, next up, what are we going to do? What are we going to do today? We're going to feel curious. When things are unhealthy, we end up feeling tired, afraid, guilty, ashamed about who we are, weak, failures. We may feel incompetent and like desperate. We're going to feel discouraged and drained, hopeless. So just notice just that you already know, okay, I know what health feels like. Think about your energy vampire person that comes around you in your life, and you're like, oh shit, they're coming towards me. You're going to run. You know, instead of a friend that you're like, yay, I can't wait to see so and so. Okay, so taking that with us, I invite us to take a little vitamin A regularly on our journey. So, vitamin awareness. John Kabat-Zinn, the father of mindfulness, says mindfulness is the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. It's literally being here. Like Gandhi said, if you're going to be here, be here. Showing up, being here, breathing, being in the moment, being slow enough that you can see body language in other people. You see facial expressions. You see the clouds go by. You feel the wind on your face. You feel what your gut feels like. Is your heart racing or slow? Do you feel fatigued? Awareness. You're experimenting and you're going back and forth in that upward spiral. Assess how your choices affect your body. Does this feel like I've made a healthy, life affirming choice? Does it feel like it was kind of neutral, didn't do much one way or the other? Or was this life killing? Did it feel like, oh, that just did not feel good? Trust that. Trust yourself, and you will start leaning more progressively towards the health. slow down, minimize distractions as you eat, as you go about life so that you're present. Dude, I sometimes have my phone out and I am like, my boyfriend's like, you're on that phone too much. And I'm like, you're right. I got to put that down. Be present and breathe. Breath, number one. I truly believe that if we ever want to drop ourselves into the present, it's 5 solid breaths in. Good breath in, longer breath out. All right. So couple things just to know, giving attention, it's a fundamental way that we're going to heal our relationship to food. We're going to hear what our body wants and needs. And actually, when we are present, it actually even improves nutrient assimilation and absorption when we eat. They actually did a study, dichotomous listening. 2 test subjects were given a mineral drink. One group had to drink it while they were trying to listen to 2 people having conversations and try and get what both of them were saying. The other ones were in a focused, relaxed state. The ones that were focused had 100% absorption. The other group, none. No absorption of the minerals. So just be thinking about your last couple meals. What are some patterns around how focused or not that you have been and aware in your meals? And I invite you to regularly start looking at, like, okay, how aware am I right now? Oh no, that was one where I don't even remember eating, or I don't even remember getting to work in my car. All right, so why do we eat? In America, through studies, we see, and we just kind of know this, energy. So actually to have vital energy to get up and move and go about the day. We like the taste, let's be honest. We eat because we want to be distracted from things. When I'm at the office, so when I was in corporate America, oh my goodness, I mean, oops, M&Ms, peanut M&Ms every day. So um, habit, just this is when I eat, this is what I eat, this is how much I eat. And then it can also be timed with time with loved ones. That's a great one. So let's talk about the concept of primary versus secondary foods. So the why we eat is much bigger. So primary foods, we all have some basic needs that we want, and it's very similar to what we would want from a relationships. Um, Sustaining us, nourishing us, laughter, communal time, energy. We Primary foods are the foods that we go to, like having a job that we like, um, having things that excite us, topics that we read, things that we do. They're the much deeper where when we've done them, we're like, ooh, something deep inside of us got hit. Play, fun, touch, romance, intimacy, love, achievement, art, music, self-expression, leadership, all of these different things. And then we have our secondary foods, and that is food. So I want to invite you to understand that you have an opportunity regularly through your awareness to decide, am I eating to fill a primary food? And if I am, stop, fill that real need before you eat a secondary, the actual food. A food item will never fill the hole that a primary food will fill for you. So, I would often go for sweet. That's my drug of choice, is the sweetness. And that was to try and create some sweetness when I wasn't feeling happy, when I was upset, when I'm angry. Um, Joshua Rosenthal, the founder of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, says, sometimes we are not fed by food, but by the energy of our lives. These moments and feelings demonstrate that everything is food. We take in thousands of experiences of life, think about digesting life, that can fulfill us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The extent to which we are able to incorporate them determines how enjoyable and worthwhile our lives feel. When we use a secondary food as a way to alleviate or suppress our hunger for a primary food, so I'm lonely, I'm going to eat, that's not going to ever happen. Another human or experience makes you not lonely. So if you're using food the mind suffers. If you are not getting the primary food you need, eating all of the food in the world won't satisfy your hunger. So I want you to just take a moment, and this was on your worksheet too, to think about a food that you go to regularly, an emotion that you have regularly. Are you somebody that has physical pain? Do you have emotional pain? Are you lonely? Do you have a lot of fear? Do you have a lot of insecurity, doubt? Okay, what is the food or the thing you do to alleviate that? And start thinking about, okay, if this is my real need, what am I going to do to fill that real need? So start coming up with a list of, if I feel lonely, it's going to be better if I make a phone call, if I go to dinner with a friend, if I take a walk with a friend, if I go take a walk with myself and show myself that I'm not lonely. And it's okay to be lonely because I'm outside in the beautiful nature. So start thinking about what would be more appropriate primary food related fulfilling activities than the actual food you're reaching for, and just start to deconstruct that. Your goal is to really start honoring what your true needs are. So first of all, learn about true hunger. So is it the initial grumblings in your tummy? When are you actually full? So this is all going to come from, like, you're starving. You know, maybe you had a snack at 10 o'clock and noon is coming around and you're like, all right, my meal's at noon. I'm hungry. Am I really hungry, or is it just habit? And then stopping during a meal and breathing for a moment and saying, am I done? Like, can I just take two more bites and be done? So start learning about what true hunger feels like in your body. Assess what you really want to eat. So there's a great idea in the 12-step programs where they say, think through the drink or think through the bite. Think through, okay, I'm going to put this into my mouth. I'm going to chew it. I'm going to swallow it. It is going to be ingested into my system. Is that truly what I need right now? Pause and think about what you should do instead. They also have an acronym, HALT. Am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? So start learning how to really fulfill the actual need with what's going on. Another way to really help with compulsive eating or eating at a problem is instead just to sit with it. And I know that's uncomfortable, but when you start to feel the craving or you're finding yourself binging on ice cream or cookies or brownies, stop as soon as you can. Ideally, don't even start that first bite and just go sit down on the couch, close your eyes, and take some deep breaths and breathe into the emotion. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Am I sad? If you're feeling sad, say out loud 5 times, I'm sad. I'm sad. I'm sad. A lot of times you will actually start to release that emotion. You may cry, you may shake, you may get angry, but that emotion will process through you. They've proven it's only a certain amount of time before an emotion goes through you and it's gone. So start to sit with things instead of eating at something. Recognize what's going on in your life, that why you may be needing certain foods or a change, your lifestyle, the season change. I drink green smoothies regularly, but during the winter I do less because it's chillier, it's cold. It's cold in my body in Utah here to have cold smoothies. Your age is going to change what happens with your body and your needs. Your health, are you sick? Do you need warm foods? Do you need cold foods? Is your environment stressful? Your budgets are going to affect your needs. And different events going on, holidays are going to affect your needs and choices. So it's looking at and taking the time to really be looking at what it is that you really need in that moment. There is never one way of eating for the rest of your life. Evelyn Tribble and Elise Resch from Intuitive Eating say, find ways to comfort, nurture, distract, and resolve your issues without using food. Anxiety, loneliness, boredom, and anger are emotions we all experience throughout life. It's a fact. Each has its own trigger and each has its own appeasement or way to solve it. Food won't fix any of these feelings. It may comfort for the short term, distract from the pain, or even numb you into a food hangover. But food won't solve the problem. If anything, eating for an emotional hunger will only make you feel worse in the long run. You'll ultimately have to deal with the source of the emotion as well as the discomfort of overeating. So don't cause two problems. If you are overeating, that you're just looking at the tip of the iceberg, not all of that's beneath it. And I promise you, freedom comes from sitting with and truly addressing those emotions. Okay, let's talk about food as a moral issue. Jenny Jones, editor of morelove.org. She's a coach that helps parents handle any type of foods, kids issues. She says food is not a moral issue. It's just food. I bet there are many of us that do have, though, our list of this is a good food and a bad food. And basically, is there a good or a bad food? There are healthier, more life-sustaining foods, but it's not morally good. Just like a potato chip or a donut is not morally bad. It's just going to have a certain effect in your body. So to realize and take away the stigma of food being good or bad is so much healthier, because you're then just experimenting with it and you're starting to teach your body about what is healthier, more life-giving, and what is going to be, take away from and distract from your life. But I'm not going to say that always eating a brownie is taking away from your life. There's a lot to be said about pleasure. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. By coming to food without any preconceived judgments, says Mark David, he's the founder of the Institute of Psychology of Eating. He says, by coming to food without any preconceived judgments, we have an openness that allows for biological questioning and exploration. By listening to body feedback and being open and attentive to the food we eat, we begin to make connections and draw conclusions between what we eat and how we feel. That's it. We discover pertinent information about our nutritional needs that no book could ever teach us. I'm not suggesting reckless eating. I am suggesting conscious eating, taking full responsibility for what you eat. So as you take away this food police, that's a notion from intuitive eating. The food police is not there to throw the shackles on you when you've eaten your potato chips. You are just stopping and saying, how does this make you feel? So sustainable foods, similar to healthy decisions for our lives, sustainable foods, they're going to be good because they're going to energize you. You're going to finish eating it and you're not going to want to keep eating more and more. Stabilized hunger. I'm going to say stabilized moods. You're going to have mental clarity and focus, so you're not going to have your brain fog. You're going to sleep better. You're going to be more regular, if you get my drift. If you are eating unsustainable foods, you're going to be feeling sluggish, fatigued, foggy brain, forgetting things, just being not totally present. You're going to sit in a meeting and be staring at people and not even hearing what's going on. Sleep is restless. Your hunger is going to go up and down. And you're going to be like, I'm freaking hungry again. And that's where I do believe that consistent eating is helpful, because you can really start to see, okay, wait, I'm having really weird erratic hunger. That means I'm eating in a weird way. And then you're going to have bloating and gas, probably issues with being regular. So the vitamin awareness applied regularly to your life, be eating whatever foods that you want, truly, at different amounts, different times, different types. Look at the response of your body and start coming up with your own definition of what is healthy to you, when, how much, and that is going to create a far more sustainable way of eating than saying, I'm not eating that at all. We're going to talk about those in a few minutes. Okay, let's develop a plan. So there does need to be a plan for eating, or you could, Janine Roth definitely believes throw out any plans, and your body will start to know what it needs. I'm going to throw out some things that I've learned that I already know for myself that may apply for you. So get some good nutrition basics. Foods high in nutrients, fiber, protein, vitamins. Guys, this is not, again, rocket science. Fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Um, I don't do milk, so I'm, almond milk kind of gal, oat milk, lower fat dairy, hard cheeses, fish, meats, um, and then the idea of crowding out. I can't recall if I dive into this. So crowding out is the idea that we never benefit from we don't benefit as much by totally taking away foods. I had to, and we'll talk about that in a moment, for a while. But if you add more nutrient dense foods to whatever it is that you're used to eating, there will be a tipping point where suddenly those nutrients start feeling really good in your body. They're going to make your cravings start going away, and you're going to start wanting more of those nutrient dense foods. Take a plate, you've got your pizza, cover it with spinach, wrap your pizza up like a sandwich, have spinach under your chicken. Um, even Seinfeld's wife throws spinach into the brownie mix and blends it all up. Just be adding nutrient dense foods. I do have a grocery list that I'll put out with this class as well that just has lists of nutrient dense foods kind of in categories of your fruits, your veggies, your grains. Um, Crowd out less healthy foods with plant-based foods more predominantly. Mindful intuitive eating. Focus less on changing types and amounts of foods and instead focus on how. So at the same time that you're thinking of nutrient density, you're also thinking of trust my body and then consistency. I firmly believe that you need to have a consistent model of eating for yourself, at least for the time, as long as you need to develop a healthier relationship with food. So to me, when we get to the nuts and bolts, this is it. You've got to have some nutrient density. You've got to let it go and trust the process, but then you've got to be consistent. Because when we are consistent with our food, it actually helps the metabolism. It builds trust in our body. So listen, um, if I'm a starver, an avoider, a restrictor, my body goes into fight or flight restriction. I'm never getting a meal again. Metabolism shuts down and is going to go so slowly because it's got to slowly burn those calories because it does not know when it's getting its last meal, its next meal. It is last supper eating. I will never eat again. I'm going to pig out, and then this metabolism is going so slowly. Consistency and frequency is a huge way for helping your both psychologically. If a partner is showing up consistently and frequently according to what feels good for you, you're going to build trust. You're going to be able to lean into the relationship more. That means that when you have sugar at an event, your body's going to not be like, oh my gosh. Instead, it's like, okay, we know what to do with this. So consistency. For me, I had to come up. There's a beautiful booklet that Overeaters Anonymous has called There's the Dignity of Choice. And then we come up with an eating plan, and everybody is different. And it really is, I mean, this is focused on more like compulsive eaters, or if you have an erratic relationship with food, coming up with like whether it's just 3 square meals, if it's 3 square meals with snacks. I actually measured my food for a while so that I even knew what portions were proper. So they even had like a meal plan that was like, you're going to have this much veggies, this much fruits, this much, I do believe in balance between them. This is not a total nutrition class right now, but I do want to just emphasize creating some kind of plan does help you psychologically as well, because if you do have any type of relationship with food that involves compulsive eating or addiction, um, you're going into the lion's den every time that you're eating. And that lion needs to know how much it's going to eat. It needs rules. So sometimes we do need rules and guidelines. As long as you are not rules and guidelines that are going to make you rebel against them. So that's going to be a little bit of your own journey. I'm happy to coach. I'm a health coach, so I can help you along the way if that's needed for you, or find somebody that can support you. Okay, so this quote that I love, you can eat anything until your body tells you that you can't. So I started making my changes when I was 23, 25 years old. It wasn't until I was, 37, 38 that it was like, oh my gosh, I can't seem to regulate this thing with sugar. I eat well, but then this substance is jacking me up. I can't stop eating it. I want it again and again. It's on my mind all the time because I want it because my body craves it. That's when I knew I couldn't eat sugar until I could again if it was ever going to happen. So I love this quote. Ask yourself, is there something that your body is telling you it's time to give this up? Now, some people would say don't completely give it up, and I would actually say that there is a time and a season where you can have a little bit, because sometimes taking it away completely may wig you out. Sometimes it's totally taking it away. There's not a hard and fast rule there. But let's talk about some of these foods. So, what are your trigger foods? These are some of your common ones. There's often chocolate, fast food, or at the bottom, you're going to see fried foods. These are some of the categories. Are you a cookies, donuts, cakes, brownies person, which means that you kind of are addicted to that flour, sugar, butter combo? Are you a potato chips, crackers, popcorn, pretzels person? So you like salty? Are you an ice cream? That kind of has its own category, right? Butter, and that kind of goes high fat foods is really where that is. Cheese. So those three kind of could go together: ice cream, butter, cheese. You like high fat foods, which is actually better on your blood sugar levels than some of these alternatives. But they all can be a trigger food. And trigger foods can either trigger you to eat more of that food. It could trigger you into an eating disordered behavior. So if you ate some of this means you're going to either overeat it, you're going to restrict yourself, you're going to throw it up, you're going to over exercise to try and burn it off. And it may also just be something where you feel a lot of guilt about just the whole experience of your choice. All right. Then our next thing is, what are some of your behaviors, your eating behaviors? So I want you to just take a moment and think about you're probably pretty clear on what it is that's your little fun one to go to. As they say in programs, what's your drug of choice? Okay, now we've got some eating behaviors that may be a little risky. Do you frequently eat until you're too full? So you're kind of in pain and you're like, oh, my tummy hurts. I just need to lay down. Do you finish everything on your plate and then typically lean over and eat off somebody else's plate? I had a boyfriend get stabbed when we were in Mexico with my fork because we were eating this delicious breakfast and he had eaten his and then reached over to eat mine. And it was my birthday in Guatemala, and I was loving this meal. It was eggs with this yummy cheese, and they had some vegetables. I just felt like authentic. Met coffee, and he reached over and to eat off my plate, and I stabbed his hand with my fork. Okay, do you eat fast and often finish before others? Do you eat slowly? I'm going to say err on the side of slowly. Do you hide any eating habits? I have been known to, in the past, eat something, throw it away, pull that food out of the trash and eat it, the stuff that was not affected or whatnot. Overeat, do you regularly search for new diets? So is that where your behavior is in terms of how you relate to food? You search for new diets, you over exercise. Do you snack, graze, and munch mindlessly? Do you walk around and eat out of containers? Okay, so similar to that, eating while you walk around, driving, watching TV. Um, so what you're trying to do is start looking at these behaviors and start shining the light on it. Write it down. Oh, I notice, remember, trigger or cue, your response, and then the outcome. So what you're trying to do is see what's happening. What am I doing when that happens? Because typically then we've learned, then you have the reward is essentially like, oh, I know that feels or tastes good somehow. And if we're trying to unpair things that are not healthy for us. So some ways of handling trigger behaviors, and just a reminder, this isn't going to share everything. This is a limited time class, but I'm happy to coach with you, talk with you further. So you can handle these foods in a couple different ways. You could either totally abstain from the food or the behavior. So you're just like, I don't do this. If I do this, this is what happens. Therefore, I don't eat this food or I don't eat in this way. You could experiment with your trigger food. You could give it up for a week and journal about how you feel. When you resume, see how you feel. What does your body feel? Does it feel that more healthy thing or the more unhealthy? Life sustaining, life taking away feeling. Keep repeating. That's again, test, assess, test, assess. Really encourage you to read about foods you get stuck on, or you could Google compulsive eating. You could Google sugar addiction, sugar's effect in the body, booze's effect in the body. Okay, so I think 150 days sober from alcohol. I had a feeling in the summer, I got to give this up. I don't know if it's always going to be forever. I do want to say it is always my pattern, but you know, there are a lot of books out there now called about sober curiosity, where you could decide maybe if you have that ability to have alcohol. So what I did was I read immediately 3 books about alcohol. Sober Curious, Quit Like a Woman, and The Naked Mind. I read those so that I could start getting knowledge, get knowledge, start unpairing behaviors. Eat the piece of chocolate, then watch the TV, or bring just the amount of chocolate that is more in a serving size, bring it to the TV, eat it, and you don't get to go back for more. And then start seeing, do you end up feeling like annoyed that you can't go back for more? Okay, that's something to look at. Why are you mad at this food and this restriction on you? Do you have a hard time with restrictions? Um, so you're trying to unpair behaviors or pair behaviors. So if you know that if you always wake up and you brush your teeth, go up and have lemon water or a big glass of water. Or you brush your teeth and then you, this sounds weird to say it, do it this way, then you eat an apple. So you're not, you don't normally want to go that direction, but a behavior that you do regularly, pair it with a healthy behavior and be experimenting. And then truly defining and understanding that real craving. And this is going to take journaling and truly understanding what's going on in your body. So hopefully these are some helpful tips. There is no cut and dry answer. I wish there was, but if you give yourself time, trust the process, remind yourself, I am a healthy person. That's the journey you're on. Gentle nutrition, says Evelyn and Elise. Gentle nutrition make food choices that honor their health and taste buds while making you feel well. Remember that you don't have to eat a perfect diet to be healthy. You will not suddenly get a nutrient deficiency or gain weight from one snack, one meal, or one day of eating. I put in parentheses unhealthy, unsustainable foods. It's what you eat consistently over time that matters. Progress, not perfection, is what counts. So as you go through these trigger foods, trigger behaviors, gentle nutrition is just doing this in a gentle, non-punishing food police way. And then the next thing on defining a new relationship, be flexible, have fun, vitamin pleasure. Our bodies are, pleasure is an actual part of the nutrition process. Basically, you eat, you digest, and your brain and digestive system are scanning that whole experience, the food, the way you ate it, to see if you reached the requisite level of pleasure. If not, you're still going to feel hungry. So allow that sweet spot, allow the pleasure. So whatever you're doing, having a diet, having the mind of I'm eating a good meal versus a bad meal. How do I make a yummy, healthy meal? Should be the question. How do I make a life-sustaining meal that I'm going to be excited about? Add some feta cheese to it. Add some edamame. Add, you know, again, that crowd out idea. You can add a little bit, like even from my integrative nutrition, you know, he talked about use meat as a condiment on something rather than the meal. Add a little bit of it on there so there's that texture, there's the nutrients that come from it, but it doesn't have to be the whole meal. Add rather than take away. as you allow yourself to feel pleasure, it releases immune boosting chemicals and that dopamine and that serotonin. So we are pleasure seeking machines. When we eat or do something that we like, dopamine teaches our body, do that again sooner than later. That is what's happening when we have pleasure. So if you are taking away that pleasure, your body's never feeling that sense of satisfaction. So you're going to either be in a starvation from pleasure enjoyment mode, or you're going to be overindulging. You can do, I love the word and, you can do this and this. When we are allowing pleasure, it reduces and offsets pro-inflammatory stress hormones like cortisone. Cortisone stress hormones go down so that we don't have stress in our body. So my biggest encouragement here, be present in a meal, breathe, relax, enjoy, and the body will naturally derive the pleasure it seeks. We're starting to wind down here about defining your new relationship to food. I hope some of these tips have been helpful. One majorly beneficial way to love your body and have a new relationship is movement. When we move, we are getting oxygen into our body, endorphins are going, we're going to feel good. We also start to feel appreciation for this body that's this vehicle. Do things that within the body that you have that helps you feel the difference of the body. So forget that militant exercise and calorie burning effective exercise and think about, do I enjoy this? I love hiking, but for years I was going on hikes regularly with just this grind mentality. Gave that up for a while. I would take maybe 2 or 3 hikes a month and instead do the yoga regularly. And then it just becomes fun. How does Kundalini feel? How does breath work feel? And so one other way that you can kind of wake yourself up, roll out of bed before coffee, do some squats, jumping jacks, push-ups, get your body going. Get up and, park further away from where you need to go. Get up and just do one simple walk around the block, one life affirming decision at a time. Okay, so there is not just one way into health. This is me. Each time we make a positive change in one area of our life, it opens the door to improvements in other areas. I truly believe health begets health. Take this as a lifelong learning of how to be in a healthy, sustainable relationship with food. I promise the weight, the body, all of that, the way you think about yourself, it will follow. So try a couple of these tips. I really do, I really encourage a morning routine. That's another conversation. I'll have classes about healthy routines, particularly mindful mornings. Um, but enjoy this body you've been given. Enjoy this relationship that we have an opportunity to make. And I promise you on the flip side, like it says, health begets health. As you learn to do this in your health relationship, your other relationships will get healthier too. These are principles that go across relationships, relationships to money. That's something we interact with regularly. So I'm wishing you the very best. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I am at brittanelsonwellness.com. You can message me at brittanelsonwellness@gmail.com. I look forward to staying connected with you. I hope you've enjoyed this. Wishing you the best of health and wellness always.